So, hi friends, now we will looking into the policy response to the high inflation that the country has faced. So, we have discussed the different parameters to understand how the inflation has increased and how we are successfully tamed the inflation to the comfortable level, and now we are maintaining within a range of 4 plus or 2% of CPI inflation, and it is not possible just automatically. The government has also taken various steps. See, along with there was a pent up demand, there was some regular economic activity has started, the global supply chains has restored. Apart from these things, the government has also so conscious about taming the inflation. That is the reason why we are maintaining a comfortable level of inflation. We have reduced ourselves from 6%, above 6% to the below 6% now. Now, under this policy response, we are looking into some of the different aspects that the government of India has taken in order to reduce this inflation. So, as a part of government of India's policy, first we are looking into the different aspects related to this perishable commodities, and it was mentioned it in the survey. These are the measures that the government of India has taken, and especially with respect to this onion and tomato they have mentioned. So, now I will directly entering into that, and I will explain the different measures that the government has taken. First one is Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture. Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, MIDH. So, this Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture envisages the holistic development of horticulture, and here they are going to provide some sort of financial assistance for a low cost onion structures. That means, in order to store the onions, we need to have some sort of warehouses, and in order to create that warehousing system, under this scheme we are provided with some amount of financial assistance that will help us in taming the inflation, even whenever we are facing the problem of seasonality and as well as irregularity. Okay, you understood what is seasonality and irregularity. So, even during the period of seasonality and irregularity, we are able to maintain our prices, and we are able to reduce our prices in a little in a shorter amount of time, because of one of the response is that we are providing some sort of credit subsidy for the people who wanted to store these onions. Second one, government itself direct procures the onions from the farmers at farm gate price for creating a buffer. So, buffer is always important, and in order to stabilize the prices, the buffer will always be necessary, and in order to make the buffer, the governments are directly procuring from the farmers at the farm gate. This is also one of the measure why we have maintained or why we are able to tame the inflation. Third one is the agricultural marketing infrastructure for rural godowns. So, we are also good at creating the agricultural infrastructure for both marketing as well as the godowns. That marketing and godown aspect also under a different scheme. So, we are able to reduce the prices of the perishable commodities. Next one we have seen is this Operation Greens. So, Operation Greens is a scheme initially started for tomatoes, onion, potatoes, that is for the perishable commodities, and this scheme is to help the development of the entire value chain of these products, entire value chain, that means from the farm to the consumer. So, if it is processing, to that processing level, or if it is for the exporting, to the exporting level. So, in that entire supply chain or in that entire value chain, wherever assistance is necessary, and if we provide the assistance, then and if the assistance is provided under this particular program, this not only reduces the wastage but also increases the value of this product, it also increases the shelf life of the product, so that we can store it and we can use it in order to balance the mismatch in supply and demand. So this is another scheme that we have started, Operation Greens. Now initially when we have started this Operation Greens, it was applicable only to the 3 products called tomatoes, onions and potatoes. Now 41 perishable products, now at present 41 perishable products from 52 production clusters are being covered under this Operation Greens. So Operation Greens is a program under which you will get some sort of assistance in the development of entire value chain of perishable commodities, so that we will give some sort of good income to the farmers, we will reduce the wastage, moreover we can tame the inflation, we will add more value to the products. This is possible under Operation Greens. Next, the another important thing is the Kisan rail service. So Kisan rail service, we have seen the Kisan Udan we have seen, that means through the aeroplanes we will export or we will transport our agricultural commodities, but under Kisan rail. So this Kisan rail service was actually launched in the year 2020. The Kisan rail service was launched in the year 2020 in order to supply, these are the special dedicated the rail services for the transportation of the agricultural commodities, to enable the speedy movement of perishables including fruits, vegetables, meat, poultry, fishery, dairy products. Now Indian Railway till now has operated 1900 rail services, 1900 Kisan rail services, and we have transported approximately 6.23 lakh tons of perishables including fruits and vegetables. 6.23 lakh tons of perishables including fruits and vegetables that we have done. So these are some of the measures which we have already taken, and we are given some sort of impetus to these decisions, so that we are able to tame the inflation. It's not automatically happened, because these fruits and vegetables also contributed lot to the inflation. So either it is MIDA scheme or creating a buffer, or otherwise the Operation Greens or Kisan rail or marketing and go down infrastructure. So these are some of the schemes, or these are some of the measures that we have implemented. Next, now steps taken by the government to augment the supply side of essential commodities. And again, for the pulses and onions, there are some specific measures. These are earlier measures are general measures for all, but when you are looking into the pulses and onions, see, to ensure the effective intervention during the price rise through the utilization of buffer stocks, the government has procured pulses. If you see, from 2021 and 21-22 from a farmers and farm produce organization, the target of pulse buffer in the year 2021 is 23 lakh metric tons. We know that the inflation is there, that is the reason why we have procured it from the farmers and we have created a buffer. And that buffer has helped us to reduce or stabilize the prices. So buffer creation is one important aspect that we have done. Second one is onion buffer of 2.08 lakh metric tons have been created in 21-22 and released in a calibrated and targeted manner to contain the price rise. So this buffer creation is one aspect that has done in both the aspects of pulses and onions. Second one is import policy. See, this import policy what we have designed is very, very important, because imports are necessary in order to regulate the prices in the domestic economy. But one thing we must understand, the regular change of import policy will certainly brings some sort of volatility in both domestic and as well as the foreign markets. Suppose you think like, okay, this year there was a shortage, so suddenly I'll import, but next year you don't know whether you will import it or not. Suppose just assume you don't want to import, and if the farmers has grown that crop, immediately they will have good price and they can take a profit. But next year also if you started importing and if you take that decision suddenly, then immediately the farmers who have grown that crop may not get that much amount of profit. So whenever you are doing an important export policy, it must have at least some long term vision, maybe at least for 3 to 5 years of tenure, so that the domestic traders or the domestic producers or farmers can really make the arrangements, and even the state governments can also make the plans accordingly. So if you looking into the import policy to augment the domestic availability of pulses, tur, urad are kept under free import category. So that means free import category, you can import it freely till March 31st, 2022 in order to reduce the prices of the pulses. Now the basic import duty and agricultural infrastructure and development cess, this cess is imposing on various items, especially on importing items also. So the cess and as well as the basic import duty we have brought down on masoor, it is a dal, it is a pulse, on masoor brought down to 0 and 10% respectively. That means basic import duty has brought down to 0 and agriculture and infrastructure cess brought down to 10%. So that means now we can import it easily because there is no availability in the domestic market, and we went for importing, and in that importing we have created some favorable condition for both masoor, tur and urad. Now this 5 years MoU, this is very important because it is a long term strategy. A 5-year MoU has been, memorandum of understanding has been signed with Myanmar for annual import of 2.5 lakh urad and 1 lakh metric ton of 2.5 lakh metric ton of urad, 1 lakh metric ton of tur, and with Malawi for 0.5 lakh metric tons of tur. The MoU with the Mozambique has been extended for another 5 years for an annual import of tur. That means to whatever the tur and urad importing plan we are making, it's a long term plan. That means in the next 5 years this is going to be our import, and accordingly we can produce, accordingly we can make our own buffer. So such a long term thing is always necessary for any type of thing, because so that it will bring some sort of balance in the both domestic market and also in cooperation with the foreign market. So this is one of the important thing that we have done, like the creating the buffers and as well as kept under free import, and also basic import duty and agricultural infrastructure and development cess, and also a long term MoU up to 5 years with different countries that includes Myanmar, Malawi and Mozambique. Okay, this is another policy response. Next, if you are looking into the edible oils, to soften the price of edible oils, the duty on edible oil has been reduced with effect from 14 October 2021. And if you are looking into that 14 October 2021, the basic duty on refined oil and palm oil, refined soya bean oil and refined sunflower oil has been reduced to 17.5% from 32.5%. We have seen the value of the value of the palm oil in or refined sunflower oil has increased. So we wanted to provide some benefit to the people by reducing our own the duty. So that is why the basic duty we have reduced from 32.5 to 17.5. That is another policy measure that has taken by Government of India. Without taking this decision, without importing the pulses, without signing an agreement with foreign country, without reducing the whatever the duty or agriculture and infrastructure says, it cannot be possible to contain or to tame the inflation. Okay, the economy is revived, no doubt about that, but our policies has also suggested, suggested to some extent has helped in reducing the prices. Next, Speculation and hoarding, this is one important aspect. Whenever the inflation start increasing, the people or the hoarders or the traders want to hoard more, and they want to create an artificial demand, thereby they will artificially allow this increased price to sustain over a period of time, thereby they will take huge amount of profit, and it will a huge burden on the common people or the common man. So now the speculation and hoarding, what we have done, futures trading in the mustard oil in the National Commodity Exchange has been suspended and stock limits have been imposed. So there is no stock limit, the stock limit have been imposed, you should not stock more than this. And even the in the commodity market, the future trading of mustard oil is also suspended. Otherwise what you will do is, you will purchase it for the future date, then thereby you create a shortage in the present day. Thereby you create the shortage in the present day. So that is going to again increase the inflation. That is the reason why we have suspended. And even we have imposed the stock limits. Next one is, the Department of Food and Public Distribution has imposed stock limits on edible oil and oil seeds for a period up to 31st March 2022. So you should not have the stocks beyond a prescribed level by the Government of India. And one more thing, the removal of licensing requirements, stock limits, movement restrictions on specific foodstuffs amendment order, that is what they have brought, and with that order, with an effect from October 2021, they have imposed the stock limits on this edible oil and as well as the oil seeds, edible oil and also as well as oil seeds. And one more thing is that the government has directed the edible oils and edible oil stock is regularly declared and updated on the portal of the Department of Food and Public Distribution. It's not like, okay, you will follow the order, you must update every time with the government portal that how much amount of the quantity of edible oil and as well as the oil seeds that you have. And if suddenly they come for any inspection, and if it is not matched, then you will be liable for the punishment. But anyhow, this is a good move. During, because in an extraordinary cases, when you think that the certain items are contributing more to the inflation, then they have imposed the stock limit, and thereby they have reduced the food prices, especially in case of edible oils and oil seeds. Both, and from the importing items we have imposed this, and in the domestic economy we have imposed this. So both the decisions will help us in stabilizing the oil prices to some extent. Next, production and alternatives. And it's not only the basic duties and also imposing restrictions. We have also brought some more changes. The government is taking steps to improve the production of secondary edible oils, especially the rice bran oil, and as well to reduce the import dependence. And even we have started a national palm oil mission. So this national palm oil mission and as well as the production of the rice bran oil will certainly help us to reduce our dependence on the more imported edible oil. This is all about edible oil. So a stock limits, reduction in duties, a long term strategy to create alternatives, these are some of the steps taken by the Government of India. Next, soya meal included as essential commodity. So in a bid to cool down the domestic price of soya meal, government has notified an order under Essential Commodities Act to declare soya meal as an essential commodity. So if you declare something as an essential commodity, you must not hoard beyond a particular point. So that is how they have imposed some restrictions. So these are the steps that the government has taken. In order to stabilize the prices. And one more thing just I want to mention, recent measures taken by the government to enhance the housing affordability. See, we have seen housing. In this housing, normally we have seen there is a problem of sales. There is a problem of sales. There is no much change in the prices. Even though the demand is low, the price has not changed because the input cost and raw material cost is increased. So the prices maintained at a same level with a minute difference. But once the lockdown is completed, immediately the prices started increasing. We have seen in the second, compared to that of first lockdown, in the second lockdown it was better. Does it happen automatically? Does really the government has not given any supporting measures for the housing sector? The answer is yes. It has done automatically to some extent, that is supported by the governmental policies. And if you looking into the some of the policies, they have reduced the circle rate stamp duties by various state governments like Delhi, West Bengal, Maharashtra to boost the housing sales. If you reduce the circle rate and stamp duties, the cost involved in the purchasing of house comes down, because based on the stamp duty and circle rates only your value is decided, because you have to pay extra amount of money during the registration time. Anyhow, the cost come down, that is the reason why the sales has increased. Now apart from that, the tax benefits. The tax holiday to an affordable housing projects until March 31, 2022. So tax holiday is given up to March 31, 2022, and this is not for everyone. This holiday is not for everyone. They have clearly mentioned the eligibility for tax reduction for affordable housing announced in 2019-20 budget has been extended till March 2022. This was already an existing program and we are extending up to 2022. This tax deduction can be up to 1.5 lakh rupees. So this will be up to 5 lakh rupees and provided on interest paid loan for self-occupied house. So while you are filing the income tax, then to this extent of 1.5 lakh rupees, you will be get some sort of exemptions. So this is a tax benefit. So tax benefit is there, and also some of the tax stamp duties and circle rates also revised. Apart from that, Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana. So Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana is an important scheme, and under this Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana we are constructing the houses and we are giving it to the people. That is one aspect. But apart from that aspect, there are different aspects in the same Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana, like credit linked subsidies, slum development, slum rehabilitation program, and also this rental housing program we have started. Now this income group, okay, so this is actually the theme of the scheme. So Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana urban aims to address the urban housing shortage among the economically weaker sections and low and middle income groups, including this slum dwellers, by ensuring a Pakka house to all by 2022. This was actually a theme. Now there was another scheme was added to this, affordable rental housing. See, for the migrant people, it is very difficult for them to have a house in the urban area, because they don't have proper documentation and they don't want to be in that area, they have to go back. And we have seen some serious crisis of these rents during the pandemic time. People don't want to stay because they don't have proper habitation. They are simply living in some very underdeveloped, or I can say it is like a low quality of houses they have. So that's not a correct thing. So we wanted to provide some sort of habitation to the people, and because of that we have started an affordable rental housing scheme. So under this affordable rental housing schemes, there are two aspects. One is the existing vacant government funded housing complexes are there, and if anyone want to come, they can come and they can develop and they can use it for 25 years. That means the investor can come and they can develop and they can use it for 25 years. That means they can give these houses as a rents for 25 years, and after that again it will be go back to the government, and government will take an appropriate decision on that. That is one aspect that we can do. So agreement for 25 years. Second one is, if you have your own land and your own vacant land, and if you want to develop or you want to construct an affordable houses in that, then you will give a special incentives for permissions, and as well as 50% additional floor area ratio and floor space index. This is the benefit you are going to get. These are very technical. But anyhow, concessional loans at priority sector lending rate, to what rate we will give the loans to the priority sector, to that rate only we will give the loans. Tax reliefs on par with the affordable houses, these will be provided if at all you want to develop affordable rental houses in your own land. If you want to develop in government already existing complexes, you will get some 25 years of the agreement that you can do. So these are some of the things, and because of that some people have started constructing the houses or renovating the existing government complexes. And there is another important program called the credit linked subsidy scheme for middle income group, that is between 6 to 18 lakh. So this is also one of the schemes. So that means if you observe, even in the housing sector, government has introduced lot of different policies, and because of that we are reviving it back. I told you the importance of this housing sector, because it is having a huge potential to revive the different sectors in the economy. Next, one more policy response that I want to give you. It is with respect to this LPG, petroleum and LPG. See, petroleum and LPG, actually we have paid huge amount of money, that means almost 30 rupees as tax in central to the center and 30 rupees to the state. Almost 60 to 65 rupees of your 110 rupee of petrol and diesel we have paid as a tax to the both central and state government. Recently Government of India has taken a decision to cut down the whatever the duty, and duty is not the shareable part but unshareable part of the duty, by 5 rupees to the petrol and 10 rupees to the diesel. That is what we have reduced, and we don't know whether we will do it further or not, but we expected the state to do that. Some of the states have done, some of the states have not done. This is also one of the another policy response by reducing some of the excess duties on petroleum. Now when it comes to the liquefied petroleum gas, we need to understand something, because survey has given some important information. See, the prices of petroleum products are linked to the international products. Likewise, the prices of LPG in the country is also depending on the international price, and especially the Saudi contract price SCP, Saudi contract price. This is Saudi contract price is a benchmark for the international LPG prices. So our LPG price in our country is depending on the Saudi contract price. The word Saudi contract price is very important, because at one point of time during the pandemic, when our petrol prices has completely come down, then at that point of time there are some futures, even people don't want to purchase the futures in petroleum products, and one of such petroleum future is the Western Texas Intermediate, WTI. It was mentioned at that point of time during the newspapers, and one of the indices that shows that the future petroleum prices are going to be low, because no one want to purchase the futures. And further they have quoted this West Texas Intermediary, and when they quoted this West Texas Intermediary, this WTI denotes this crude oil future, and this crude oil type is also one of the deciding factor that decides the international prices of crude oil. And this was asked in UPSC prelims. WPI, Western Texas Intermediate, is recently in news. It is about what? Crude oil, gold, some steel, something. So likewise you will also get a question, what is this contract price, Saudi contract price? So Saudi contract price is the benchmark for international price of LPG. And if you observe the CP or if you see that contract price which decides the benchmark rate for the international LPG prices, it has risen approximately by 258%. That means it has become more than 2.5 times from April 2022 to November 2021. April 2020 to November 2021. Okay, April 2020 to November 2021. So this is the increase in the contract price, Saudi contract price, which is deciding factor for the international LPG. Now, we are all aware, whenever we discuss about this LPG, Government of India has started a scheme, and they have also mentioned about that scheme, and in that scheme they have brought some changes. Those changes also important for us. So that is, you are all aware, Pradhana Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, and under this Pradhana Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, the households are given a free or a deposit free LPG connection, deposit free LPG connection. Initially the target was 5 crore, later we extended this target to 8 crore. Initially the target was 5 crore, later it was extended to 8 crore. Now, if you looking into the LPG coverage in India, it has increased from, in the year 2016, it was 61.9%, but by the time of 2021, it reached to the 99.8%. It reached to the 99.8%. And even in the year 2021, we have announced that we are going to create another 1 crore more connections, and this number includes this 1 crore connections. And with this announcement, we have started a second in the sense, the modification to the existing Pradhana Mantri Ujjwala Yojana 2.0. So what is this Pradhana Mantri Ujjwala Yojana 2.0? How it is different from the first announced scheme? This 2.0 has brought, in order to provide some sort of relief or relax the provisions for the migrant workers, because the migrant workers, they don't have any proper documents in order to get an LPG connection. So the relaxation for the migrant workers who can submit a simple self declaration with an address proof. A simple declaration that I am a migrant worker, I am staying in so and so place with so and so address. If you make that simple declaration, it is fine. So that is the relaxation that we have made under this 2.0. And for them, the free first refill and stove. So the free stove and as well as the first refill is given to them. And as on December 31st, 2021, December 31st, 2021, of the 1 crore we have announced 96 lakhs new connections are announced, and in this almost 2.2 lakh migrant workers are benefited out of this. So this is something about Pradhana Mantri Ujjwala Yojana that they have mentioned it in the economic survey. So now just whatever the measures that they have announced by the government and that they have mentioned in the survey are very, very important. Suppose if at all you get a question like how the government is helping the housing sector, you can use this information. What are the recent steps that the government has taken in order to reduce the inflation in the economy. Now you can use these methods that are taken by the government of India for reduction of inflation in the agricultural commodities sector, whether it is pulses or whether it is oils or whether it is onions or in total whether it is about the perishables. You have to be very clear. But apart from these type of measures, the very different measure, as I have already explained in the first class of the economic survey, that we already have a good experience of taper tantrum, and by keeping that experience of taper tantrum in our mind, we don't want to spend more and more amount of money only on the safety nets, because we know that if you spend more amount of money on the safety net without creating some good assets, then it is not at all going to help to the economy. Moreover, it improves the inflation in the economy, thereby it will reduces the value of the currency. So there is no use even if you spend. So just by keeping the taper tantrum in our mind, we have designed our whatever the policy to contain the inflation very clearly, and so that now with that policy, by spending some safety net and by spending it in the infrastructure, by spending it as a capex, by providing some sort of benefits to the MSMEs, so that we are able to regulate the entire the money supply in the economy in an appropriate way. Even Reserve Bank of India is also maintaining a low level of interest rate, but in spite of that, in spite of such a low level of interest rates, we are carefully diverting that whatever the cheap money available in the economy to an appropriate sector. Thereby we can create some valuable assets and thereby we can produce more. So the increase in the liquidity is also become equivalent to that of increase in goods and services or production in the economy. That is the reason why we are maintaining a constant level or a little bit high, but now we have again come down to that. This is how we exactly regulated our inflation. So these are the earlier measures are the very particular measures what they have taken. The later one whatever I have explained, in total the policy measures that the government of India adopted. Because the taper tantrum we have seen the double digit growth rate, and even if you have seen the growth rate, even if you see the inflation rate in the world economies, you have seen US, UK, Brazil, Argentina, Turkey, you have seen how high they are. But India is successfully tamed its inflation by using its broader fiscal policy, by using its monetary policy, also by using some of the minute decisions which are helping at various different sectors. And there are some sectors in which we don't have a control, like crude oil. Except reducing the taxes, we don't have any other option. But again, our revenues is also important, and by keeping both the points in mind, Government of India has reduced the taxes on the crude oil to petroleum and diesel to some extent, but still they are taxing at high rate. But it is the responsibility of the both state and center can do. But apart from that, in various aspects they have taken some very important measures. Anyhow, as the global supply chains has restarted and as the economy entering into the normalcy, as we are moving away from these new variants, the freight cost and also the import cost, the cost of the inputs, they will come to the normalcy. Once our production started increasing, we will certainly able to reach the demand, so that we can even relax our own WPI, because in the WPI also the base effect is going to be vanished over a period of time and the input cost will come down. Crude oil prices, actually the economic survey estimated this year the crude oil prices will be in between $70 to $75 per barrel. If it is really this, then the energy, fuel, transportation will also come down. Then again we can expect a much more comfortable interest rate, Now across the world, all the countries now focusing on this taming the inflation. India has successfully tamed while we are in the pandemic, and we are now maintaining a comfortable level. But now all the world economies are facing a high level of inflation. Definitely they will start taking back this quantitative easing techniques, and now they are definitely going to tighten their monetary policy. So they are going to do that. But anyhow, India, our own inbuilt policy in the policy response to the COVID-19. So policy response to the COVID-19 also includes the taming of inflation. So that is the so special or beauty of the Indian policy makers, what they have adopted during this pandemic years. And the result is that we are able to tame the inflation successfully. Okay. So this is something about the taming of inflation in the pandemic years. Okay. Thank you.
Amrita IAS Academy.